With Kenny Omega addressing the backstage brawl from All Out and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about Raw play-by-play commentator Kevin Patrick, former WWE writer Vince Russo criticized him, saying, "This guy, I don't even know his name." Whatever, Dana Patrick? I don't even know his name. This guy opens up the show with such low, boring energy. This is why I'm so tired of the excuses. What's the excuse? That this guy can't be excited about opening up this show. I'm begging anybody, go watch a show from the Attitude Era and listen to JR open a show. He is so excited, so over the top. He wouldn't rather be anywhere else in the world. We don't know what we're gonna see tonight. Recalling having his wife backstage in WWE and her not feeling welcome, Mick Foley said on his podcast, "She didn't feel completely comfortable." And that actually stems back to July of '96 when I brought my kids on the road, I think for the second time. In fairness to WWE, when I brought them to Savannah, Georgia, my kids cried for 90 minutes. I had to talk with them outside. They're all dressed up, Dewey's in his tie, Noelle's in her dress. "You're gonna be good for daddy, right?" They went in there and had the fit where the mucus is coming out of the nose and you just can't stop it. But nonetheless, that had been a few weeks earlier, and now I'm bringing them to New England. I can't remember if they were in Portland with me, but they were definitely there the next night. The agent, and I don't need to name the agent, may have been overplaying his hand by not allowing my family backstage, and ushered them into a bathroom with what appeared to be an open sewage line. And why I didn't stand up right then and say this doesn't fly, I don't know. I was probably thinking, I've only got a few months in this company, I'm getting a push, I don't want to rock the boat. It's one thing to do that to me in July, but by November, kind of a big deal. Working my 4th pay-per-view with The Undertaker, there's an edict, no wives backstage. So my wife is celebrating her birthday, we take a trip together to New York to celebrate. She's by herself. She's going to be going to the show by herself. The edict comes down, no wives. I appealed. Even asked Jim Ross. I was told that was the rule. So now my wife's on her own all day. And when I get to the show, I'm at the building at 1. To me, there's no reason why my wife can't be there until 6 and then find her seat. But that's not the case. So if the edict is being followed by everyone, that's one thing. But if you show up and you see other wives, girlfriends, a companion who'd known the wrestler for 24 hours or less, that's a problem. And now I see it right or wrong as a pattern, and I'm pissed. You can say you're a professional. You have to put that to the side. I'm more sensitive than most. I think that's safe to say. And when you get that knot in your stomach, it's a pretty good gauge that something's wrong. On the AEW Unrestricted podcast, Saraya spoke about the sit-down interview between herself and Renee Paquette, where changes to the segment were made without consulting Tony Khan. I was thinking about that promo. We changed it up last minute with the sit-down. Me, Britt, Renee, and Mox, because Mox has been a big producer on our segment. After the first promo, he was like, "I'm going to make sure that we make this as best as possible. I want to help you." We changed the sit-down because they only gave us 2 minutes. We're not going to be able to tell a story in 2 minutes, especially backstage and without a crowd. You can't feel the energy. That promo we were supposed to do in 2 minutes in a backstage. We're just like, we're going to change this. We didn't ask Tony about it. We just did it. Britt had to go do something anyway at like 5, and she was like, "I'll be right back." We just went, we're going to change it and say she didn't turn up. It fits in with her thinking that I'm coming in. Renee is my friend. We could piece it together so much easier in 2 minutes. We did that. It went way better. Then we told Tony, "Is it okay if we get this promo next week?" Luckily, he was so great with it, even though we're changing his show on the day. Great, we'll get Britt backstage explaining why she didn't turn up. Next week we can give you 6 minutes. We went over, we'll give you 6 minutes. It felt right. I'm sorry we went over, but the emotion in the crowd felt good. Speaking of the AEW president, Tony Khan spoke on that same podcast about the former TNT champion Wardlow, saying, "I believe Wardlow probably, in many ways, has a good chance to be the future of pro wrestling as anybody. He's someone we really see as a star for the future here, and is a homegrown star." When asked if she had spoken to Triple H about returning to WWE, Brandi Rhodes revealed to Steve Fall of 10 Count, "I have not spoken to Hunter. Spoken to Stephanie, I spoke to Vince, but at that point in time, I saw Hunter at WrestleMania, so I guess I did speak to Hunter. I said hi, but as far as in a professional sense, no, I've not spoken to Hunter." On the Watching the Throne podcast, AEW star Ricky Starks revealed a song that he would want to have for his entrance, as he said, "My goal is to get the rights to play Touch the Sky at least once for one of my matches. That's the goal. I'm putting it out there. I'm manifesting this happening. That's what I want out of this whole thing. The day that I get that, I'm pretty much going to set Twitter on fire." That came from the fact that I had to watch the music video again. I heard the song in a movie, and I never thought to think of it in that type of light. I ended up using it as my theme song, and it kind of took off from there in terms. I'll meet other Kanye West fans, and I'll tell them my entrance, and they immediately start singing Touch the Sky. It's real stadium music. Recalling her time in WWE, specifically NXT UK, Toni Storm revealed to The Ringer that it's a lot of pressure, and that comes with being champion anywhere. Doesn't matter what company you're with. When you're a champion, you're the leader of the division, the company, and a lot is expected of you. A lot is asked of you. You're the guy that everyone's going to turn to, and you have to lead by example. Speaking to Wrestle Binge, former AEW star Timlin Vanish touched on being warned about Jon Moxley, saying that, according to QT Marshall, "I overstayed my welcome in AEW. In fact, I remember him saying, 'Hey, Moxley is an asshole when he gets drunk,' and Moxley spoke to me for 5 minutes. It all sounds very bizarre, and I had enough. Professional wrestling is all I ever wanted." Talking to RF Video, the former wife of Steve Austin, Debra, recalled getting onto a female WWE star for hitting on her at the time husband, as she said, "I did that once to Torrie. She was hitting on Steve. That was more of a girl to girl, woman to woman, hitting on my husband, which all women can relate to that. I don't play that way. I just grabbed her by the arm and was like, 'Hey, you need to come here right now.' And I just told her if she didn't stop, I was gonna kick her butt. That was disrespectful. This is my husband." And she started crying. Yeah, she was with Billy Kidman at the time. She was crying. Her nose was running. On Steve Austin's podcast, former WWE star Marc Mero mentioned how he found out his ex-wife Sable was cheating on him. "I have to listen to the first voicemail to get to mine, and it was another wrestler talking about them two. I remember thinking, when I find out who this guy is, I'm going to kick the living tar out of this man. And then I found out it was Brock Lesnar. Steve, this gives forgiveness a whole new meaning. Our marriage was over. We ended up getting divorced, but God bless them. They got married. They have kids." Staying on the topic of Brock Lesnar, Road Dogg noted on his podcast that the Beast refused to work with Kevin Owens. This was after Owens had lost the Universal title to Goldberg in 2017, with Lesnar winning the belt after off of Goldberg at WrestleMania 33. "I really want to clarify, it isn't that he had no intention of wanting to work with Jinder, it's that he really thought he could have a better match with AJ. So I just wanted that to be clear. Look, I don't think I've ever heard of Brock saying I'm not working with that guy. Well, I did. I did hear that with Kevin Owens, but only him." Also, on his podcast, Road Dogg talked about John Cena returning to WWE, as he said he can't come back forever. You know what I mean? He's only going to come back for a certain amount of dates because he's got other career opportunities. So that would be great. You could bring Cena back, you put him over, you put him up for the title, and he wins the title. Yeah, it's not possible because he's not going to be there. I got 3 dates. I can show up on the go home, I can show up on the pay-per-view, and you got one more. So sprinkle it in where you can. You know what I mean? Like, that's the deals that are made. It's not, we got Cena, let's do whatever we want. When asked about CM Punk's backstage brawl with himself and the Young Bucks after the All Out event, Kenny Omega told Sports Illustrated, "There are things no one can talk about, so I'd encourage people to let it go. It doesn't change that we want a team effort in AEW. I don't even mean implicitly myself and my opponent. It also means the referee, the fans, the people who set up the ring, everyone. Even a technical error can ruin the memory of a match. I can refer back to the exploding barbed wire death match. So I encourage people to move away from it because there is no information to be released. Though I cannot talk about it, I do want the fans to know I still want the best for pro wrestling." When it comes to The Rock potentially returning to WWE for the Royal Rumble event, Ringside News wrote that the road to WrestleMania has a lot of people excited, so there are a lot of rumors going around about The Rock right now. As of this writing, we can confirm that The Rock will not be at the Royal Rumble next year. Talking about seeing fresh faces in WWE, Sheamus told CBS Sports, "I've always been in the mindset the younger talent coming up are fresh and you should use that as motivation. You don't use that to hold them down. You use that to bring them up and inspire you." Talking about his faction with Ridge, Holland, and Butch, the Celtic Warrior said, "Ridge had the Peaky Blinders look and it just fit for both of us. I was already aware of Pete Dunne and how good he is. He's an incredible mind for what we do. So we're doing stuff together and I'll ask them what they think. There's no I've been here the longest and this is my idea, and that's the way it has to be." Speaking about his plans to have a reality show, Bobby Lashley told Sidewalks Entertainment that a big thing that I'd love to do is I love to flip houses and I love to work with real estate. So I've been doing a lot with that, and we've been actually filming a reality show that kind of deals with me, my team, how we put together different flips and go from place to place, and showing some of the guys that I'm in business with and some of the young athletes and some of the young professionals how to get into the real estate world. So we're playing with that a little bit. Talking about a wide variety of things on one fall, Bryan Danielson contrasted his life with that of Genghis Khan, saying, "One of the things that I like to remind my friends all the time is that Sprite is a perfect example. Genghis Khan took over most of his known world at the time. He never had Sprite. I'm way richer than Genghis Khan ever was. If he wanted to eat something delicious, it took a long time. And I'm sure he had someone else cook it for him. I don't eat McDonald's, but I'm sure I can go into McDonald's and get something better than he ever ate in his entire life. And that man ruled the world. Genghis Khan, screw him, he never had Sprite." On his podcast, WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley talked about opponents he wishes he could have faced during his prime. "I would love to work with Jon Moxley. Bray Wyatt, I imagine the promos could be really cool. And I always liked working with people who had polar opposite styles of mine. So somebody like Darby Allin and Ricochet." During an appearance for On the Grind, Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair touched on her struggles with an eating disorder as she recalled, "I used to have a very unhealthy relationship with food. When I was in high school, I ran track. I was very muscular. The one thing people would tell me would help me run faster is if you end up losing weight. So I just took it to a whole other level. I ended up struggling with bulimia, athletic scholarship, and going to college, and I got hurt and I decided, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to try to stop struggling with bulimia. I ended up then developing BED, binge eating disorder, where I was just binge eating. Fast forward till I got into CrossFit, and for the first time I saw these women that had these big, beautiful muscles. They were doing amazing things with their bodies, and I was finally in this environment where how my body was naturally made, it was for a good thing." Talking about instances involving creepy fans, Rhea Ripley said this to the New York Post. Most of the things fans say I'm not allowed to say, but there has been a lot. I've had people make signs, some of them very inappropriate. I'll lash back at them. At one of the house shows, I had this fan and he was like, "Rhea, spit on me." I'm like, "What? You want me to what?" Dom was there and that was another moment for us. "Dom, this man just told me to spin on him." He what? You gonna do something about it? Ripley would also talk about missing her chance to challenge for the Raw Women's title at Money in the Bank due to injury, saying, "As upsetting as it was, I think it was a blessing in disguise. Bianca and I, it's something that shouldn't be rushed, and we don't want to rush it." Or that sort of felt like it's gonna happen, and that would be the end of it. We want our names to be etched in history. We want to leave our legacy, or we can both be in the ring together and make magic. When a couple of fans who were blind and deaf decided to head into Hulk Hogan's beat shop, they would end up meeting the Hulkster. Here's the video.
He can't hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful.
Good.
So beautiful.
Okay.
So good to them.
You got the Hulkamania hats on, brother.
Yeah, I got the
I ran them
bucket.
down on the street the other day.
Got the
I
bucket
was
hats.
yelling at both of them. I didn't know they couldn't hear me, but we love them to death, man. And
They represent all over the
way
beach.
on the team.
Yeah, they are.
So now I know I can't talk to them. I can just hug them and kiss them.
And yeah, let them feel your, so they know who it is. Yeah. Yeah. So they're both blind and deaf. Amazing. You can see just a little bit.
Cool.
Awesome. So she holds his hands. So beautiful. So beautiful. Yes, sir.
Can I take a picture of them?
Yeah.
As Thunder Rosa and AEW reached an agreement on her vacating the women's title due to injury, the Wrestling Observer gave an update on how the company views interim titles. With Punk was supposed to hold the title through that period, so that's one of the reasons they did it that way, because Moxley really wanted that championship reign, and he ended up getting another one because of what happened with Punk, but because of that, they ended up Moxley getting an official reign, and then Punk was supposed to get an official reign back and everything like that. I think that's kind of unofficial the mentality that if it's a few months, we'll do the interim title. If it's like 6 months, it's too long. It seems that with this stance on interim titles from the company, Toni Storm's reign has been adjusted, with Dave Meltzer adding that the thing that got really weird here is that they said Toni Storm's reign is no longer interim, even though it was interim the entire reign. It has been reclassified as, in fact, the Women's Championship from when they first won that match, the match at All Out. When it comes to Thunder Rosa returning from injury, it was noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that the deal with Rosa was that when she went down, she was going to lose the title at that pay-per-view All Out to Toni Storm. They expected her back in November or December in that time frame, and I think the feeling was because of what happened with Punk, where they gave him a couple of months to be consistent, they would have to do the same thing here. Now it's looking like February, so now I think they're saying February's too long. While it's unknown where this feud started for the AEW champion MJF, rising UFC star Paddy Pimblett decided to apparently reply on Instagram to his comments writing, "MJF, I do have knowledge about MMA though, don't I? Which you have zero knowledge about, so let's not go there. If you want to have a real fight, let's sort it out with the UFC, if not pipe down. Oh, tell your boss to sign me up. When use comes to Fulham, ground I be ready, son." MJF replied, "Hey bud, AEW has a show coming up in your neck of the woods. If you're man enough, I'll gladly show you how real until I am. Pimblett replied, I've just said that, you spaceman. Don't act if you're calling for it. I've just told you straight when you's come to Fulham ground. Kevin Cottage, get your boss Tony Khan to message my boss Dana White and see what we can sort. Because I know full well you won't pass a USADA drug test to fight in the UFC. MJF said, unlike you, I'm 100% natural and I'm also 100% original. Unlike you, your dollar store Conor McGregor talking Will from Stranger Things looking ass wouldn't last 2 seconds in my world. Better than you, see you in London. Former UFC lightweight and featherweight champion Conor McGregor would respond writing, a dollar store Conor is still worth millions. Let's go young Patty Pimp, don't know who this other clown is. MJF replied, I'll f the Conor clone up, then I'll wipe my ass with the original. Stay in your lane, you roided up leprechaun. You can't hang with the AEW World Champion. Better than you. During an interview with ESPN, AEW champion MJF would take a shot at rising UFC star Patty Pimblett, saying, I wouldn't be shocked if the AEW World Champion shows up on December 10th for UFC 282 where Pimblett is set to fight in Vegas. I'm sick and tired of people talking about pro wrestling as if it's some stunt show. The fact of the matter is Patty, the prima donna Pimblett, would not last 2 seconds in a professional wrestling ring with me. Maybe not even one. This fat, moon-faced prick, Will from Stranger Things looking a-hole dollar store Conor McGregor decided he needed to chirp up and say, oh, wrestling is fake. Let me tell you something. We are real fighters. They are prima donnas. Pro wrestling is a dangerous, dangerous sport, and there is no one more dangerous than MJF. I can assure you, when we come to London in 2023, if Patty shows his face, he's going to find out that a Scouser is no match for a Long Islander, because I'm better than him and he knows it. There's a target on my back at all times. Like I said, if Patty the baddie thinks he can aim at that target and hit it, I am more than game to knock that guy out. With Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks returning from suspension following their involvement in the all-out brawl with CM Punk, it seems those in the Punk camp were not pleased, as the Observer reported that. I know that there's people close to CM Punk that were they not happy with that 6-man tag team match. It remains to be seen if CM Punk has his AEW contract bought out or if he returns to the promotion. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.